Welcome to the Private Practice with Soul podcast. My name is Dr. Brooklyn Storm, and I help private practice owners align their business back with their soul's calling, with their big vision and with their soul's purpose. Unlike other private practice coaches, I've traveled the world in search of spiritual resources, spiritual tools, education and information so that you can have the transformation that your soul desires and needs so that you can up-level your business. How much fun is this? I love it so much. Guys, if you're not already a member of the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group, please check out the show notes. I would love for you to be there. In the meantime, thank you so much for pushing play today. Let's begin. Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast. I'm so pleased that you're here because today I want to help you learn new ways of moving through obstacles and challenges so that you can create success in your private practice. So if we haven't met yet, hi, my name is Brooklyn, obviously the host of the show, and I want to welcome you to another episode. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much to subscribing. And if you're listening to this podcast on Podbean and you would like to support the podcast, maybe, help contribute towards upgrading my equipment or something like that, there's a crowdfunding button that you can click in there. And it would be amazing to have your support. In exchange, there are so many exciting goodies as well, including being listed as a patron on the podcast website. So if you're interested in that, of course, jump in and have a look. So without further ado, let's get going. Okay, so first of all, it's really normal and really common to feel stuck in private practice, no matter which of the 4 stages you're at. So you could be dreaming about the business and feel stuck on what the vision is. Or you could be in stage 1 of the business and you're just starting to pull it all together and get going. And maybe you're feeling stuck because you don't know how to get it off the ground. Maybe you're posting everywhere on social media and it's not yet converting for you, so you feel stuck there. Or maybe you're in stage 3 and everything's just kind of settling in now, and it's we're putting in the strong roots and the foundations, and the practice is really becoming established. And maybe you're at a point where you're feeling a little bit stuck on your systems and your processes and things like that. Or maybe you're moving from stage 3 into stage 4 and you're looking at expanding. Perhaps you've reached capacity with the one-to-one work. You're ready to stop trading time for money. And you want to do things a little bit differently so that you can have more choice in your life. And, that means something different to all of us. For me, freedom means choices. So that's what I absolutely want. And maybe you're thinking, well, how do I actually do that? What else is available to me? How else can I be calling in ways to help people and increase my turnover while I don't do any more than I'm already doing, or so that I can actually do less? Right? So we all feel stuck. And as you know, business happens in that S shape, right? That flat S shape. We're going to start off slow, then there's going to be this spurt of growth, and then it's going to plateau out, and then we're going to have that spurt of growth and then plateau out. And that's just how it goes. Okay. So that's the first thing to understand. This happens, and it's going to happen to all of us. The thing is, not all of us talk about it, but you know me, I absolutely will. And in fact, speaking of being stuck, I can share an experience that I had this morning, and I'll do that with you a little bit later. So how do you overcome it and how do you get through it? Well, I was reading the book Mary Magdalene Revealed by Megan Watterson. Now, Megan also created a deck of oracle cards called the Feminine Archetype Oracle Cards. And they're just amazing. But she's a feminist theologian and she researches the Gospel of Mary. And it's been so interesting to read. And one of the things that's come out of listening to her work is this idea that, as we've mentioned previously on the podcast, we have our ego sort of here, and then here we have our heart. And if you're one of my clients, I often say to you, are you in your head? We need to drop down into our heart. Or where head means kind of like that ego, that masculine sort of space, and heart generally, traditionally refers to that sort of feminine space. And so what I understand now after, researching more of Megan's work is that, right from the very beginning, it was we are 100% spiritual, we're 100% soul, and we're 100% human. And I think that that's so important because when we look at challenges through the lens of being 100% human and being 100% soul, it puts a very different perspective on these things that we bump up against in business. Okay. So I think to feel like we're stuck is a very human experience. I don't believe our soul ever feels stuck. I believe that our soul always knows the right next aligned action for us to take. So if we look at obstacles through this lens of spiritual practice mixing with a private practice, I think what we can all agree on is that it's our mind, it's this human experience that causes us to interpret or perceive something as a challenge or an obstacle. And I think from there, what we do is we go to human ways to solve those things. And I've shared with you before, like I was the biggest, I want to say culprit for doing that. Like I was always buying the $37 courses on Instagram and stuff. I mentioned it with my last episode on the launch plans. That was me. I was that person always looking outside. And that's okay. That's the human part of me. It's human to do that. It's human to look externally. But the other thing is that we want to understand that just like we have this human aspect, we also have the soul aspect to the same degree, exactly the same degree. Okay. And so what I would love for you to do is, if you have your pen and paper and hopefully you've got your journal with you or something like that where you can make some notes during this episode, I really want you to reflect on a challenge that you've recently had with the practice, even if you haven't started a practice yet and you're thinking about starting a practice. I want you to think about a challenge or a problem or something that you're seeing as an obstacle now. I want you to write that down. Just write down what it is. Maybe it's getting started or something like that. Just write down what it is, no judgment. And then I want you to reflect for a moment and ask, is the human side of me seeing this as a challenge, as a problem, as an issue? Or is it my soul that's seen this? And I bet you that it's your human side that's seeing this. So with this new awareness now, I want you to connect in the way that feels right for you with your soul or your inner guidance, as I call it, inner guidance, or higher self or higher consciousness or source energy, however you want to, refer to it. I want you to connect with that. And you don't have to do it right now, but maybe when the time feels right for you, or maybe after you finish listening to this episode, come back and do this work. But I want you to reflect and connect in with that energy and ask yourself, ask your soul, ask your inner guidance, what's really going on here and what's my way through this? What's the key? What do I need to know? Okay, hang on, just really quickly. There are tradies that have just turned up. Hang on 1 second. Chaos. Hang on. Gay. Okay, so now we're just feeding the dog some liver treats. There we go. Oop, good boy. Go and get it. Okay, he needs another one. I'm so sorry about this, guys. This is real life, right? Here, Gabe. Good boy. Okay. And ask that inner guidance, what's coming through for me right now? What do I need to know? What am I not seeing? And what's the way through? And maybe even other prompts like, how can I see this is happening for me right now? Or even, what is the wisdom of what I'm seeing right now? How would my higher self deal with this right now? So asking yourself those questions helps bring you back, helps anchor you back in with that inner knowing, with your soul's voice, with your soul's blueprint, right? And that's the easiest, most comfortable way for you to bring the practice back into alignment. Okay, so now we have some radio noise in the background from my handyman, which is Great. But we're just going to push on. Okay. The other things, apart from being able to appreciate that we're 100% human and 100% soul, the other thing that I want to bring your awareness to, Gabe, the other thing that I want to bring your awareness, Gabe, to is asking yourself, is a way of dealing with this by looking at blocking out time to get things done. So really looking at how we're managing the energetics of private practice. So I want you to think about, am I doing things when my energy feels aligned with it, or am I doing things past that? So for example, I feel most energized in the mornings, and so that's when I see my clients. However, in the afternoons, I like to do admin work. So that's when I sort of sit down nice and quietly and do that sort of calm, sort of logical, masculine admin work. And it feels really, really good to have that sort of mapped out and ticked off by the end of the day. So if you're finding that there's challenges and you're procrastinating or you're avoiding things, again, that's your human experience. So work with it, acknowledge it, and ask yourself, what would make this easier for me to do? And often it's going to be either time blocking in your diary to deal with something, or it's going to be task blocking in your diary. So time blocking is where you block out, sections of your diary to do certain things based on your energy. But task blocking is when you say, okay, first thing every morning at 8:30 a.m., I'm going to go live on my social media or something like that. Okay. When you are time blocking for things like catching up on admin, what you really want to do is set yourself up for success with this. So it means going to your sacred space, having a pot of tea, having a cup of coffee, turning on the salt lamp, and turning off all notifications and distractions. Maybe leave your phone out in another room. Okay, don't bring your phone in with you, and just give yourself space to get that work done. The next thing is, when we're looking at challenges in private practice, to really reflect. A few episodes ago, we spoke about shadow values and, the bright, shiny values. So for those of you who missed that and you're yet to hear it, essentially we have two sides of the same coin, and that coin being, the things that are important to us. So this one side of the coin, we will talk about freely. We will post them on our websites or post them on our social media. We value inclusivity. We value, truth. We value community. We value non-judgment, all those sorts of things. But you might also have, and you do have, shadow values. And some of the more common shadow values are things like power or control or freedom or choice or appreciation or authority or things like that. So what happens sometimes is when we experience a challenge in our private practice, it's because there's a conflict between our values. An example of this might be we have a shadow value of having more choice, more freedom, and turnover is our way to do that. Yet we have a conflict with our bright shiny value, which is everyone should be able to access everything all the time. Okay, so can you see how those two values aren't going to work hand in hand? So you need to really think about which one's going to be the dominant value here, and how can we get them working together in alignment to help you, deal with this issue in the business. So ask yourself, if I charge this higher fee, how many ways will charging this higher fee help me to have the capacity to provide a service to more people more often at affordable rates or something like that? And you set that as your journal prompt and see what comes through. And what you've done there when you've completed this activity is you have you've resolved this challenge now by bringing the values and the shadow values into alignment. Okay, so if you need help with that, go back and listen to the episode on values. And if you still get a bit stuck, let me know. Send me an email or book a free chat with me and I'll help you with it. It's not a problem. So that's 2 or 3 ways stays right there. And then, you know what? The other thing is, you have to also work through any limiting beliefs that you have, right? Because as we said a moment ago, I don't know what you believe, but I believe the perception of challenges is a very human thing. And we pick it up through our senses, through what we're seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, talking about, all of those sorts of things. So if we can process a limiting belief, then we create space for a new healthier belief to come through. Okay, so for example, a simple way to process a limiting belief is to ask yourself, what do I believe to be true about this situation that might not be 100% true? And then you want to delve a little bit deeper and ask yourself, how is holding on to this belief impacting my practice? How's it impacting my finances? How's it impacting my health and well-being? How's it impacting my relationships? All of those sorts of things. Is it impacting my sleep? Go through all of that. And then the next step, the third step, is going to be asking yourself, if this belief did not exist in the world, if it did not exist in my mindset, I want you to think, what would become available for me then? Okay, what would be going on in the practice? What would I be saying to myself? What would I be thinking? How would I be feeling? What version of me would be showing up if I wasn't restricted by this belief? Okay, and when you've done that, you then create a new belief based on that. Okay, so now that we know the original belief was false, it wasn't 100% true, and you can see what's possible for you on the other side of it, let's create a belief that's going to work for you. And here's the trick, it doesn't have to be the opposite belief, it can just be a belief that uses a process word, like every day it gets easier for me to see how bumping my fee allows me to help more people that really need my help and couldn't afford it. Okay, so something like that. So you create this new belief and you go from there. And this is how we overcome limiting beliefs and challenges around the private practice. Make sense? Okay, good. Okay, so then I think that's all we've got at the moment. Hang on. My mum's just sort of telling me something. I'm going to have to go, but thank you very much for watching and thank you very much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Private Practice with Soul podcast today. If you're looking for clarity, if you need help with branding, your processes, and bringing everything into alignment with your soul's purpose for your private practice, head to the show notes and click the link for more information about the Private Practice Monthly Mentorship Group. You are going to love it. I can't wait to see you in there. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.